Hello, this is Monday, July 11, 2011. This is Frank Fortunato with a broadcast from CATEX TV in Princeton, New Jersey. Budget talks continue at the White House last evening, and it lasted only for 90 minutes until they broke up, and they're meeting again today. The president has a press conference today at midday in the United States. It's all a fight as to what's going to get cut and what, if any, is going to be increased in terms of taxes. In the balance, swinging by a thread, is the sovereign debt rating of the United States of America. Incomprehensible. Well, let's go to our news. There was another earthquake right in that area of Japan yesterday. This time a very small tsunami, about 15 inches high, hit the area that had been damaged back in March. This was an earthquake of about a 7.3 magnitude. Struck off the main island of Honshu at about 11:44 a.m. Japanese time yesterday. Communities along the Pacific coast issued warnings and advisories for residents to seek higher ground. The tsunami that came in was, as I mentioned, less than a foot high. However, the quake was strong enough to sway skyscrapers in Tokyo, about 250 miles away from the epicenter. The U.S. Geological Agency estimated the magnitude at 7.1 and said the quake hit offshore at a depth of about 6 miles. Tokyo Electric Power Company said that the crippled Fukushima No. 1 nuclear plant had not sustained any additional damage. Well, here's some evidence that somebody believes that reinsurance premiums are going up, and in this case, the somebody is probably the most respected underwriter in the world. HIscox is providing a signal of expectations of a more widespread upturn in the pricing environment. They've unveiled plans to increase their capacity for their famous Syndicate 33 by $100 million for 2012. This will bring the capacity now for 33 up to £1 billion for 2012. In a statement, the HIscox said this increase is driven by anticipated improved market conditions, particularly in reinsurance lines, and a desire to have sufficient capacity available in the event of a widespread market turn. Translation: higher premiums are coming. Allied World Assurance, a provider of P&C and specialty insurance and reinsurance, has said that it expects to record about $65 to $75 million in cat-related losses in the second quarter of 2011. AWACS said that the majority of losses, about 40 to 50 million, were caused by weather-related events in the U.S. and about 25 million from additional expected losses from Q1 cat events in New Zealand and Japan. These amounts are pre-tax and net of any reinsurance. Peterden Dekker, the president of the Federation of European Risk Managers, FIRMA, is putting pressure on Aon to reveal more transparency over the controversial Aon carrier charges, known as ACC. Dekker says that the ACC, which is a 3.5% commission charge for administrative services introduced last year, actually introduced this year, lacked transparency. Dekker is particularly concerned about cases where he believes Aon is placing the risk but carrying a very small administrative burden. FIRMA is concerned, like Lloyd's, that the carrying charge lacks the fine details of exactly what administrative duties needs to be carried out to earn commissions. Dekker said this is a problem. Why not disclose it in a transparent way? That's the basis of how we can manage the conflict in a transparent way. Dekker's comments follow on from the recent advice from the Lloyd's Management Association, the LMA, to underwriters over the Bribery Act, which came into effect this month. Many underwriters are interpreting LMA's comments as a subtle message over how they should treat broker remuneration. Aon has strongly defended the ACC, saying it's a simple way of replacing a previously complex process, and said that it would not fall foul of the Bribery Act. Quote, "There is no intention of this being a hidden increase. This is replacing charges that are already there. It's about simplicity and reducing the complexity we have and making the whole process more straightforward." This is what a spokesman from Aon told Insurance Times. The Florida Supreme Court has ruled that a 2005 state law that restricted filings of asbestos-related injury claims violated constitutional rights, opening the door for thousands of asbestos claimants to proceed with cases that are still pending in lower courts. The Supreme Court's ruling stemmed from numerous asbestos cases that have been consolidated in lower courts, where claimants challenged a provision of the law that required them to demonstrate, quote, physical impairment prior to pursuing an asbestos-related suit. However, the Supreme Court decision said that people suffering injuries from the wrongful conduct of another are entitled to pursue claims, regardless of the level of physical impairment. Opponents contending, said the majority, that a certain level of impairment is absolutely necessary for a cause of action is contrary to long-standing Florida common law. That means there are going to be asbestos claims coming from Florida. The Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, began delisting IFEX, catastrophe-linked derivatives, this week. The IFEX contracts are exchange-related versions of industry loss warranties. They've been trading on ICE platforms since ICE bought the Chicago Climate Futures Exchange back in July 2010. The IFEX website is still listing open interest contracts and a range of American nationwide contracts. The move to delist the products comes as Climate Exchange founder Neil Eckert is understood to have been negotiating a management-led buyout of IFEX from ICE over the past few months. This year, ICE has traded notional volumes of $24 million of IFEX products. There was no comment either from ICE or from IFEX. And in the Volga River of Russia, rescuers are scouring the water today looking for survivors of a 56-year-old sinking ship called the Bulgaria. At least 42 people are dead, another 200 or so are missing. The ship sank about 2 miles from shore in the Volga River. The Volga is up to 19 miles wide in some places. It's a very broad river. The boat was built in 1955 and belongs to a local tourism company. Over the weekend in India, 2 passenger trains were derailed in separate incidents, leaving about 67 people dead and 200 more injured. Rescuers in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, the site of the first derailment, are searching for survivors in the wreckage of the Kalka mail train that jumped the tracks en route to the capital of New Delhi yesterday afternoon. Hours later, a second train derailed in the northeastern state of Assam, injuring another 100 people. Local police suspect a remote-controlled bomb caused 4 coaches of the Guwahati-Puri express train to be thrown off the tracks. The Indian railway network is one of the largest in the world. It carries about 14 million passengers every day. In Cyprus, a fire and explosion at a naval base has left at least 15 people dead. It's also knocked out over half of Cyprus's power supply. This is a very interesting story. The event occurred at about 4 a.m. this morning at the Evangelos Florakis Naval Base in the city of Zigi. It started as a grass fire, and then what happened is weapons that had been seized as destined for Iran in 2009 ended up blowing up. 4 soldiers, 2 sailors, and 5 firemen were killed in a blast. 43 more people were injured. And next door to the naval base is the Vasilikos power plant. It's Cyprus's largest power plant. The damages in the fire has knocked out about half of Cyprus's power producing capacity. The plant accounts for about 770 megawatts of the island's 1,400 megawatts needed daily. According to Bloomberg News now, the megawatt production at the plant is up to about 560 megawatts now, so there are still scattered power outages in Cyprus. The fire is now under partial control, although it's still burning. It does not threaten any nearby fuel depot. Now, that's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching.